Are you tired of the city life and ready to move out to the peace and quiet of the country? Well, stick around and we're going to talk about the pros and cons. We're going to sit down here in a minute and talk with a couple, Randy and Holly, that moved out to the country about 4 years ago. They moved out to East Texas outside of Mineola, bought a 17-acre property with a lake on it that you can kind of see behind me, and they have not looked back since then.
So we ended up finding a property, we have a couple of three, but we found one in particular that we really liked that had a 3-acre lake and about 17 acres, and we thought, you know what, that's perfect. And the property that we found, the house was almost a half mile off the road, and it was between two reasonably sized cities, and not too far from a fairly large city. So we get really the best of every world this way. There's so many opportunities for people to work from home, and that home could be in the middle of a big city, or that home could be, 100, 200 miles out in the country. It really doesn't matter.
So the pros that I see of living in the country versus the city, for one thing, it's a much quieter life. It's so much less stressful. It's quiet. It's beautiful. I can look out my windows and just see nature, which is what I like. It calms me. The people who live out here, we all live kind of the same way in this nice, quiet, non-chaotic environment.
Do you want to, you talked about nature and so forth. Do you want to talk some about, you had decided to become a master gardener, and this is the perfect place to live, right, if you want to become a master gardener.
Right. I became a master gardener in the county that we live in, and which is fun, and with land that gives me plenty of room to garden. I'm into flowers, but I could also do vegetable gardens, and that's fun. I watch birds, which I've always loved doing in the city, but we have so many more out here in the country of birds that would never come into the city. And we get what are the river otters that every now and then they come in and we can watch them. They're fun. Ducks of all different types fly in, and they just stay for a few days and then they fly out.
And geese, lots of Canadian geese that move through.
They were gone.
They were gone.
Yeah, and I've driven up where we've had deer out in the field right by the drive as we drive up. So we see lots of deer.
I guess if there was anything that we miss from the city, are the restaurants.
I was going to say food.
But really and truly, we've found small, independently owned restaurants that the food is just as good. Do we have as many options on any given night? Probably not.
We don't have as many nice, like anniversary type restaurants. There's one, and we go to it for our anniversary, and I'm sure there's a couple more, but there's not a whole lot of those. And you have to drive to get there.
Yeah.
That's the only drawback I know of food.
But the other side of that is that we've tended to cook a lot more at home.
Right.
Which we
didn't
very seldom did before.
In the city, right.
Just because with kids and
it's convenient.
All the different options that we had and things going on,
Busy.
You just didn't have time to cook.
Right. Since we've moved out here, I've gotten, we already talked about my gardening, but then I also keep all the lawn, and you keep the field. So we take walks out throughout the field. We take the dog and we'll go and walk I like looking to see all the wildlife, whether it's plants or animals, wildflowers, plants that you wouldn't get. You know, it has to be out in the field or underneath a set of trees. I like doing that. I get my exercise that way.
Yeah.
We cut down trees for our firewood, so we don't have to buy it.
Yeah, lots
So
of tree
each
cutting.
fall.
I determined at one point that I needed a tractor because I kept having to have one of my neighbors come over and use his tractor to move a huge log or whatever.
And if you've got land, you take breaks like you would anyways, a normal break, and you run out and fish just a couple of times, and then you come back in and work a little bit more.
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, there have been many times where I'll decide, you know what, I need to take a 15 or a 20-minute break, and I can walk out my back door, grab a fishing pole, fish for 10 minutes, be back in, and kind of feel renewed. Mm-hmm. Catch a couple of bass, a couple of crappie, and back to work.
Yep.
Can't do that from the city.
No. If I could give someone advice about buying a property out in the country, I would say to find a real estate agent that knows the country, who knows country living, who knows what to look for in property, and who can find something of exactly what you want.
Use our realtor, Pierce Andrews, with Keller Williams. Like Pierce Andrews.
Really. I know they say that no property is perfect for anybody, but our property is pretty close. We have a house that fits us perfectly. We have the land, the size land that we wanted, not too big, not too small. We have the water, so hold out for those things that you want.
I think one of the things that made it stand out so much to us originally is it had a lot of things that you'd want to have, but if you were building it yourself, you probably wouldn't spend the money for it. An example of that is the wind turbine that we have. The wind turbine doesn't provide all of our electricity by any stretch of the imagination, but it does provide some, and it
helps
reduces our electric bills,
keeps it down
quite a bit. Makes it to where in the heat of the summer, our electric bill for this house compared to our old house is maybe 25%.
Yes.
And another thing on this property was that being out in the country, you'd want to have a generator.
Yeah, you have to have a generator.
But it's not something that it might be something that you would decide, at least at first, that, hey, I'm not going to put that in. That's some added extra cost, and I probably won't need it anyway. But it was already here.
Right, ours was already here, so that was nice. And then since we've lived here, we've realized how often we have needed it here and there. Large propane tank.
Yeah, we've got a 500-gallon propane tank that was already installed, buried, run to the house. Everything was done for it. Anaerobic septic was already in and functioning.
We hope this information helps you look for country living, country land. We look forward to seeing you out in the country.